Hey everyone, I'm dqclarke and this is your weekly Bible study parable on bad relationships. Ooh. Today we're talking all about relationships, family, friendships, enemies, frenemies, the whole deal. As always, I give you a parable, we talk about the meaning, the interpretation, and how it can apply to your life. Let's get started. So, the parable. Two farmers lived side by side in the vast open country of the undeveloped West. The land was beautiful and the soil was rich and ripe for planting. Each farmer focused on one particular crop. One grew corn and the other grew peanuts. Each had rows and rows of corn and peanuts, and each was an excellent farmer. They did their work well. What the corn and peanut farmers didn't know was that their crops weren't just alive, they were alive. When these farmers weren't around, the crops worked with each other to be the best crops they could be. Like the farmers, the crops were good friends. They worked with each other, shared tips with each other, and tried to be the best crops that they could be for their farmers. They would talk all hours of the night and rest during the day when they were being sun and fed. Yes, you heard me right. They spoke, and boy, did they have a lot to say when their farmers weren't around. One evening, Peanut went over to Corn to ask for a favor. Another favor. Peanut suggested that they switch places for a few nights so that Peanut could enjoy some of the extra food that Corn's farmer was giving him. Corn agreed but wasn't happy about it. Peanut's farmer didn't give him the extra special food like Corn's farmer gave him, but they were friends, so Corn agreed. After about a week, Corn was feeling a little weak, but Peanut was feeling strong and healthy. When Peanut's farmer started to give Peanut extra food and Corn's farmer stopped because it didn't seem to be working, Corn went to Peanut and asked to switch places. But Peanut declined. "I have to stay strong and healthy, right?" he told Corn. Corn was a bit put out by Peanut's decline, especially because he had done so much for Peanut already. But he shrugged it off and went back to his own dirt. The next day, Corn's farmer came back with the top of the line, best you could get, extra special plant food and gave Corn that food. Corn got better and stronger in no time. A few nights later, Peanut came over to Corn and asked for another favor. He'd like to try some of that special top-of-the-line new food, and he was so grateful that Corn was such a good friend. But Corn had learned his lesson, and he very kindly and very humbly declined. He instead said that he would shine as brilliantly and as beautifully as he could so that Peanut's farmer would notice Corn and that Peanut's farmer would ask Corn's farmer for the special food so Peanut could have his own food. A few days went by and Corn did just that. He looked better than ever and he strutted his stuff. Peanut didn't think he looked so good compared to Corn anymore, never mind that he was a completely different crop and shouldn't be comparing himself. Corn looked great, and to Peanut, Corn looked better than Peanut even though Peanut still looked great. Peanut started to hate Corn for not sharing, for looking better, for getting more people's attention when they came to the farm. That hatred grew a little more each day. A few weeks went by and Peanut's farmer did start to use some of that top-of-the-line new food, but it didn't matter anymore. Corn had had more time to look better, to be better, to look brighter, and Peanut didn't like it. Peanut would have to catch up to Corn, and he didn't like that. So he devised a plan. There was one patch of dirt that neither farmer used for their crops, and Peanut knew why. That spot rarely got any sun, the soil was very tough, and the pH balance in the soil was off. So Peanut went to Corn. "Oh, good friend, you're looking so great today," Peanut said to Corn. "I want to share a treat with you. You see that patch of dirt over there? That is being reserved for the very best crop because it's the very best soil and the very best spot on the two farms. It's been fed with food better than even what we're getting, and I bet you if you go over there for a few nights, it'll make you better and stronger." Corn was a little unsure and asked Peanut, if it's so great, why doesn't he just go over there? But Peanut said Corn had been such a good friend to him, he wanted to save it for him. Corn tried the soil and used it that night. The soil sucked all of the health and nourishment out of him until he began to die. Peanut ignored all of Corn's cries for help and enjoyed seeing his demise. By morning, Corn was gone and Peanut was happy. So, the interpretation. Okay, so I took a bit of an elementary approach with this parable because we're dealing with some serious relationship issues and I wanted to bring a light touch to it. Let's talk about the interpretation. Corn and Peanut represent any two people in any two relationships. This could be friends, family, co-workers, neighbors, any kind of relationship that we're involved in as people, they represent those two people. And in this parable, Peanut does three things. He gives three red flags that we should be cautious of in any relationship. The first thing is that there's more taking rather than giving. Peanut asks many favors of corn, but rarely reciprocates. For instance, if you're in a love relationship with someone and that person is doing all of the taking and getting their way, and you're doing all of the giving and compromising, that's a problem and that's a red flag. The second is that Peanut develops a spirit of jealousy and envy. He doesn't like it when corn begins to outshine him and a hatred builds. If you have a friend who starts to make comments about things and attributes that you have in relation to them, and you can kind of sense a jealousy or an envy building, that's a red flag. The third is that Peanut becomes dishonest. A dishonest spirit enters the relationship, and once that enters into a relationship, it's hard to build trust again. It's like the old adage, it takes a lifetime to build trust, but just a moment to break it down. For instance, if a family member is continually dishonest with you, that might be a good time to sit down and have a heart-to-heart to find out why. Each of these are red flags to keep an eye out for in any relationship of any sort with two people. So let's look at 3 key points to take away from this parable today. 1. Selfishness is so detrimental in a relationship because the actions of one always seeks to override the actions and the feelings and the thoughts of another. And this comes in the form of taking more than you're giving to another. Philippians 2 notes that we aren't to do anything out of selfish ambition, meaning we're thinking about what it does for us or how it may benefit us. Rather, we're to consider others better than ourselves. And ironically, if 2 people in a relationship are considering the other person in that relationship better than they consider themselves, the 2 people get what they need and get what they want. 2. Jealousy is one of the more dangerous traits to be aware of in others in a relationship and also in yourselves. All people get jealous from time to time. It's just that if you let that initial twang of jealousy take root down deep and turn into something bigger like envy, you're on dangerous territory. You've now opened yourself up to the worst of hate, and when you hate someone out of jealousy or envy, you're likely to do bad things to them or to yourself. The book of James notes that when there is jealousy and selfish ambition, 2 things we've discussed, there will be disorder in every kind of evil practice. And what kind of evil practice resulted in Peanut's actions towards corn? Well, deceit and then murder. He lied to his friend to get rid of him. But this can also take the form of someone lying to get what they want or doing something or a host of other things. The third key point I want you to take away is that if you don't guard your heart against certain attributes you see in other people, if you don't heed those warnings and those red flags when they come up in a relationship, it actually could cost you. Now, I don't mean the random or occasional slip-ups that we all have. No one is perfect, and by God's grace, we grow and we learn and we seek to want to do better. But if you are seeing a trend in character behavior, if you are seeing the same thing over and over again without a desire to change, without the steps needed to take changes, you need to pray about being in that relationship. Perhaps it's someone you can't really avoid, then perhaps you reestablish that relationship to one that's not so close. And if you feel like you treated someone like Peanut did to corn, know that it's never too late to make it right. God is the God of the 100,000th, millionth, zillionth chance. He is always there and always willing to help us if we have a truly repentant heart and want to make things right, both with Him, with ourselves, and with other people. It was so great spending this time with you guys today. God is so pleased when we come to Him, when we want to learn more about Him, when we want to learn His ways. He loves getting involved, and He is always available to help us. As always, I've listed all scripture I mentioned in the video down in the description down below, so take a look at those. Read those for yourself, see what God would say to you directly, and see if He illuminates something different for you in the scriptures when you read them. If you enjoyed the contents of this video, thanks so much for subscribing to my channel, and thanks for giving this video a thumbs up. And if you have ideas for parables you'd like me to create a short story for, leave those in the comments section down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have an amazing week. God bless you. I'll see you next time, and take care.